Hi, welcome along to the AFTV Tactical Analysis Show with Graham. How you doing, mate? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, mate.
We're not too far away from it now, and there seems to be one team in particular looking to ruin my Christmas, and that is Arsenal. Let's talk about the shambolic display against Manchester City at the weekend, where basically, until the youngsters came on, towards the end of the game, we just surrendered and waved the white flag. It's a very poor performance. I'm not even too sure if we need any tactical analysis. We're crap. You know what I mean? But no, we are gonna break it down. Graham, explain what went wrong.
Do you remember last week when we were talking about the match? We did like a little preview here last week, didn't we? And we said that Manchester United actually set the benchmark to how to play against Manchester City. And it was interesting that after the game, Pep Guardiola, Robbie, came out and said in his after-match press interview that they had a harder game against Man United than they did against us.
No, he said they
played better.
They played better.
They had a harder game and they played better. And the reason for that was the way Man United set up that day. Man United set up in a 4-3-3, okay, and literally played in transition on counter-attack, and actually smothered the lines between defence and attack. The midfield, very compact, just looked to hit them in transition, and that's what they did. And they snuffed out the likes of Silva and De Bruyne, whereas we didn't commit to either playing in transition or pressing up as a team to sort of like play an attacking style where the team was sort of like structured. So we were like played a duck between two stools in that game. We were very open to them. So I said to you last week, I thought the midfield was key. If we didn't get hold of the likes of De Bruyne and David Silva, obviously David Silva didn't play, but Foden came in and had an excellent game, and they've got excellent midfielders. Rodri, who was good in this game. So Man United for me was the blueprint of how to play against Man City. The way that they stopped them playing in midfield and then hit them with their pacey wide players, Rashford, James, and then Martial supporting the attack. That to me was the way to play Man City. But if you're going to play the other way, at least to commit to it. If you're going to press as a team and press up high. And the problem I've got with this team at the moment, Robbie, in this 4-2-3-1, however we set up, is the distances between the attack and the defence are too large. So like the front four press, Guendouzi and Torreira come up and do like a mini press. They play around that, and then there's acres of space for Man City to play in and get up our back four. Now, an interesting quote here, I'd like you to read it out. Kevin De Bruyne, who was the man of the match, 2 goals, brilliant. Assists. This is what he said. Do you want to read it out?
He said, we saw them in a video, that's obviously Arsenal, we saw them in a video, their attackers press up, so if we pass the front four, they stay up, don't help the defence, and it makes it difficult for their defenders.
Exactly.
Which is basically the video for every single game this season.
It's exactly what we've seen. Exactly what happened. Now, in that game, the other thing Man City do really well is that when we are in possession, if it looks like we've got any sort of transition, they just break the play up.
Yeah.
They won that game comfortably, 3-0, right? They could have won by 5 or 6 goals if they wanted to.
Had it not been for Leno.
Had it not been for Leno, but had they not taken their foot off the gas.
Yeah, yeah.
The game was done and dusted in 15 minutes, and I'll explain about the goals, how we were taken apart for the goals. Had it not been for Leno with an absolute world-class save, we would have been 4 down at half-time. Man City are the only team now to have been 3-0 up at the Emirates twice against us in the last 2 years. First half, the embarrassing stats for us, Aubameyang had 8 touches in the first half, and 3 of them were for kickoffs. The other embarrassing stat for us now is Leno has now made most saves this season of any goalkeeper in the Premier League, 73, ahead of the Norwich, Bournemouth, Brighton goalkeepers are just below him. Newcastle, terrible, I think the Newcastle keeper's next with 64. So when we are a big club, a top side, when your goalkeeper's making most saves in the Premier League, that tells you structurally everything's wrong. And then one other thing I'm going to touch in today is Mesut Ozil's tantrum, which to me was symbolic of everything that's wrong with the club at the moment.
Yep. You know what, like, Emery got a lot of stick when he left Ozil out. And At first, I remember at first I was agreeing with Emery. A lot of people giving me stick for it, but I agreed with it because he don't work hard enough. I did though feel after a time that we was lacking so much in creativity that he needed to be at least on the bench, and then it then got so bad that he did need to bring him back. He took too long, I felt, to bring him back. But you see in situations like this exactly why I feel it's time, you know, when it comes to the end of the season, to move Ozil on. You know what I mean? He doesn't give enough for the team. He only, if you're winning and you're doing well, fantastic. If not, and do you know what? And I'm not going to name the person, but yesterday I was on a train and a footballer, current Premier League footballer, got onto the train and me and him was talking for about a good hour on this train ride, yeah? And he also was commenting on Ozil and that whole tantrum thing and said exactly the same thing. He goes, Robbie, that's a reflection of Arsenal.
Yeah.
You're weak. Yeah. And he goes like, Ozil, he goes, and then he goes, and the Xhaka thing before that just shows that. These are your captains, these are your leaders. And he goes, when I saw what Ozil did, he goes, you know, he goes, boy, he goes, if that was in his team, when he got back into the change room, somebody would be probably like in his face about what he did. But you're right, it's symbolic of what's going on at this club. That, you know, these are senior players. Yeah. It's not Saka coming off and doing that. It's not Guendouzi, you know, or Martinelli. We could excuse that. We could say, you know, these guys are young. They don't. This guy, he's over 30 years old. He's playing in World Cups. He's a senior player. Our team's in trouble. When are they going to stand up? And he got away with that because, to be fair, Xhaka, look at the stick he got for it. And that's the second time he's done it.
Yeah.
He did it in Baku.
Yeah.
And I just feel it's a really selfish act because you're only thinking about yourself, innit? If you're 3-0 down and you're being substituted and there's about half an hour left and you're just... At that moment in time, you're not thinking about your teammates because they want to win the game. You're not thinking about the player that's about to come on for you, who's desperate to get on and try and make a difference. And you're not thinking about the fans. And I just thought it was really... I don't know if... The only thing I was trying to say is, has he been affected by what had gone on off the pitch with this whole China thing and that? And maybe that all got on top of him. That would be the only... But he's not come out and said that. No. He's not come out and apologised for... It's him dead. These sort of players, honestly, I've had enough of them. Well, I really have. I don't care if it's Ozil. I don't care who they are. I've had enough of this sort of stuff.
We said last week in the West Ham game, for 60 minutes, Ozil was anonymous when the team were up against it. And all of a sudden, the team got a great goal and he suddenly becomes a different player.
Comes to life.
But in adversity, he doesn't put the shift in, and that's the biggest criticism of him.
Where's the fight in this thing? Like you pointed out, you were just saying about how they stopped. Look, have you got a statistic on there about fouls? Man City.
24 fouls they made.
24 fouls in the game.
We made 9. And
9 fouls.
They won the game 3-0, and they had 5 players booked, but they were in control of the game. That tells you that every time they think, give them credit because players like De Bruyne and Foden, Rodri put a shift in, right?
Yeah.
So whereas Ozil, nice little touches on the ball, lovely little flicks, nice little crosses, but not much work rate off the ball. So and I think he was up against a player, and unfortunately for Ozil, his performance was even more magnified in the negative by the fact they had Kevin De Bruyne in the opposition, who's now the new top playmaker in the Premier League, who not only scored 2 goals and had an assist, but every time we had the ball, he was rushing around to get challenges in. Even at 2-0 up, he wasn't just sort of relaxing, he was putting a shift in, and that looks bad on Ozil when the opposition playmaker, De Bruyne, does that.
Seems weak.
I'll just touch on the formations here and how we went. We went with a 4-2-3-1. Now, the problem we had, I think, defensively is you're playing Maitland-Niles and Kolasinac, who basically are wing-backs, but you're playing them in a back 4. So that immediately means really... People have been crying out for this pivot of Torreira and Guendouzi. But Guendouzi is so positionally poor a lot of the time. Torreira's often bombing on to support the press of the front 4. That they're not protecting these, who just literally run backwards towards our goal, don't want to push up. if Arsenal are going to press up high like they were trying to do in that first half with the front four, they've got to press up as a team, and these four should be right up high with Torreira and Guendouzi pressing. So there's less space for De Bruyne and Foden and Rodri and Gundogan in midfield. Maybe so they end up maybe trying to hit longer balls. Now Jesus he wouldn't like long balls because he's not great in the air. So, but Man City did that really well. They sort of crowded the midfield. So Man United did that really well. End up Man City playing a lot of long balls, and so that was not to Jesus' strengths. And then they looked to hit him in transition, but we didn't play that way. We played exactly the way Man City wanted to do. Now we played this 4-2-3-1. So you've got like Martinelli. Everyone was crying out for this front four because that had done really well at West Ham. Pepe on the right, Martinelli on the left, Aubameyang through the centre with Ozil behind. So we wanted that. I questioned whether we should have gone with 4. I said that to you last week. I think we needed the extra man in midfield. We needed to play more compact and deny them space in midfield because I thought they had the midfielders to hurt us, and that's how it played out. Now Man City went with a 4-2-3-1, Robbie. Now let me just name their players, and I'm going to show exactly how they play very similar shape to Liverpool now when they're playing teams. It starts as a 4-2-3-1, although Liverpool's a 4-3-3, and it frequently becomes a 2-3-5 when they're so it's a 4-2-3-1 out of possession and a 2-3-5 in possession. And what they did in this game, so obviously they had no Silva, so Foden played over here. He was like a winger, but he's not really a winger, he's more of a midfielder. But he was dropping between the lines. Sterling was like the outlet on this side, and then we had De Bruyne here, who was, I thought he was, when the teams come out, they had him as a wide right player, but he played more as a number 10. And then you had Jesus here. Jesus here. So what was happening in this game quite a lot when they were in possession, Mendy would push up to provide the outlet on this side, so you had Sterling. Jesus was dropping here. And then you had Walker coming into here. So Walker pushed into a 3. So this is how they are when they're attacking. Liverpool play a very similar style when they're attacking. I'll explain the difference between Liverpool and Man City in a minute. So you have like Otamendi and Fernandinho stay as a 2. Walker comes into a 3 to support Rodri and Gundogan. And then you've got 5 here. 5. So you have like Foden, De Bruyne, you have Mendy, Foden, Jesus, De Bruyne and Sterling. And frequently you have like Foden and De Bruyne coming between the lines, behind the Arsenal midfield to get in there. So every time they bypassed our front 4, they were just in behind our midfield and then just running, De Bruyne a lot of the times, running through the midfield. So the difference between them and Liverpool is, Liverpool have their 2 fullbacks up in a 5 with the front 3, and it's the midfield 3 with Van Dijk and Lovren or Matip, whoever it is, as a 2. But that's the difference. So when they are attacking, it's a 5, and they keep teams penned in, and they literally, that's what we had. But that's how they were transitioning through our team in that sort of shape. Now when you've got Martinelli up here, and you've got Aubameyang here, Ozil here, Pepe here, and then you've got like Guendouzi and Torreira pushing on there, and they play round it.
As soon as they win the ball,
look at that.
In.
You've got those 5 against our 4.
Yeah.
So and they always had the extra man in midfield. They had overloads in the midfield all the time, Robbie, because they moved from the 4-2-3-1 to the 2-3-5.
Yeah, they'd have players out wide.
Players out well. You had the width was from Mendy, because Foden would come when Mendy was coming up. Foden would go inside, and De Bruyne would play centrally. Sterling and Jesus would come out on that side. So, and our defenders who are not very good at gauging one-on-one, which is literally retreat, go backwards and backwards and backwards, and that was borne out by the goals they scored. If you look at the second goal, which first of all, the first goal, an absolutely outstanding finish by De Bruyne, Robbie.
It was a great finish. It was a great finish, and as I said in some of the videos that we did, is the difference between how we performed in this game and up, because we performed like this all season, is this ain't Southampton. We're going to shank that over the bar or whatever. It's De Bruyne. It's going in. Both of his goals were brilliant finishes. Oh,
outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. But the first goal, for example, Fernandinho is allowed to bring the ball out virtually unchallenged. Now, and the other thing is, when Jesus gets in here, he absolutely skins Chambers.
Yeah, I mean, so easily. Chambers could have done a lot better job on it.
And Sterling appears over here, and I was very disappointed because Kolasinac just switched off.
Yeah.
I know it took a slight deflection, but he just watched it come across the. That's the second goal. Sorry.
That's
but
the second.
Go to the first goal. Was obviously the De Bruyne goal when Fernandinho plays in Jesus. Jesus crossed it out, and De Bruyne arrives, and the technique to get over the ball to keep it down. And then the second goal came about when Guendouzi positionally pressed and got caught out, and they played.
And then he just let the player run past him.
Yeah, Jesus and De Bruyne played a lovely 1-2.
Yeah.
And then it comes across, as I said, Kolasinac switches off, and it goes to Sterling. And the game was over. I thought at 2-0,
it was over at 1-0.
The game was over. And then, really, our only attempt on target, Robbie, first half, was in the first minute when Martinelli, who I thought was probably our best outfield player.
Yeah, he played well. He worked.
Yeah, and then the third goal, again, Guendouzi, I thought, switched off. Got the wrong side of De Bruyne. And we weren't helped by the fact that we were trying to make that substitution.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the other thing as well. We had...
Kolasinac injured.
Yeah, Kolasinac injured. And how long did it take him to get Saka? He knew that the guy was down injured. You can't blame Saka. Why didn't they get him on as soon as he was... When Kolasinac was walking off, I remember I was screaming at the time, what's going on? You know, it's just so many things. And, you know, we are a mess at the moment, aren't we? It's just like there's no
structure.
There's no tactics. Basically, that formation, which, listen, when I got to the game and I saw the team, I was happy with the team. But basically, all that team was basically Freddie saying, we won against West Ham with that team. We're going to do that against...
I think Freddie...
We're going to do that against City. There was no thought really put into it, was there?
I just think Freddie looked out of his depth.
He did.
In that
totally
game.
Out of his depth.
And that shows
you got to feel it for him because he's not... You know, you hear the talk that he's got no proper coaching staff. I was hearing today from somebody I know there that, you know, there's having to be other players, other sort of coaches from within, you know, I'm one of my under 18s, under 19 coaches, under 23 coaches, having to help out the first team, you know, guys that's not, you know, physios having to help out and things like that. What kind of, for over nearly 3 weeks, this mess has been going on. It's just, you know, it's just very unfair on Freddie Ljungberg. You know what I mean? Because he's totally out of his depth. He hasn't got staff to support him. You know, you just wonder what is going on. I mean, could it be, because obviously tactical masterclass by Manchester City, and as you said, they have a brilliant way of playing in that. And one of the
They've got great players. Remember that.
And they have great players. And one of the guys that's behind that is Arteta. Does start to look like he's going to be the guy that's going to come in. Do you reckon he could change it so that we could...
Do you know what? I think he's highly regarded, Arteta. And he was close to the job last time.
You're highly regarded too. It doesn't mean that you should get the job.
No, I'm not good. No way am I good. And people say to me, there's a lot of comments of this guy sort of like, love to see him managing Arsenal. Yeah. And to be honest with you, I don't pretend to be anything I'm not. I could not manage a football team. But obviously I just analyse it and look at it from a fan's point of view. But Arteta, I think, a lot of glowing comments from the likes of even Pochettino rates him. Pep does rate him, and I think he's a future manager in the making, and he will be a good manager, no doubt about it. Is it right for Arsenal Football Club at the moment? The only thing I would say is, and I'm not going to criticise Arteta, I just think it's a massive risk for a football club of our size.
Would you, Ancelotti or Arteta, which one would you go for?
Look, I was discussing this.
Ancelotti's looking like he's going to Everton.
I was discussing this with a colleague at work last night, and Arteta knows the football club. Right, and I think that's what they're impressed by.
So it's Freddie.
Yeah, true. But the thing is, you need to ask yourself, it's a risk, right? So who would you rather have? A manager unproven who's never managed a club? Or would you rather have a treble Champions League winner and a double winner in England in the Premier League who's only 60 years old? People say he's old.
Let's remember, he knows the Premier League because he came here and did what he did with Chelsea.
Yes.
He knows the Premier League.
And he would take whatever he was given. When he went, the thing about Chelsea is obviously Abramovich invested a lot of money in the club, gave Mourinho loads of money, right? But when Ancelotti came in, he didn't ask for a lot of money straight away, and he won the double virtually with he didn't ask for a lot of money to upgrade certain players. All right, you might argue he had the players in place. But I think if he came, he would not be somebody, say like an Allegri, I want 200 million to replace that back four. He would come in and work with what he's got. The one thing I think he would give us is more structure. He has got a problem with these players who I don't think at the moment are good enough, right? So, but I think he would certainly make us more competitive, set us up better, and I think had we played Man City with him in charge on Sunday, he would have set us up in midfield to make us more compact. He would have made sure that the defence and the midfield, the spaces were smaller. They had less space to play in. De Bruyne wouldn't have been running through our midfield unchallenged and looking like the best player since the game begun. As good as Kevin De Bruyne is, I think we need to recognise that was the perfect game for Kevin De Bruyne to be as excellent as he is. People say he's everything Mesut Ozil's not, but if Mesut Ozil played in a team surrounded by these Man City players and he could just do his little things that he does that make him look good, everyone would be saying Ozil's still a great player. But he's playing in an Arsenal team where we need more than that, right? So, De Bruyne was working off the ball.
Yeah, I was just about to say, but one of the things you said right at the start.
Yeah, he was working off the ball.
They're winning 3-0, and the guy's still working his socks off.
Yeah.
Do we see that from Ozil?
No, we don't. But you're not going to criticise him. He's playing a Man City team winning 3 or 4-0, are you? And he's maybe got an assist.
True,
he's got an assist.
True.
He's got an assist. So he would look better in a better team. He looked great in the Real Madrid team, didn't he?
But the thing is about it, right, is that we want to see him look great in this team. It's about you being that player that, you are the standout player in this team.
Yeah.
These two, him and Aubameyang, right?
Yeah.
none of them showed up for the game.
No, well, Aubameyang wasn't in the game, was he?
He wasn't in the game. No. You could argue with him; he didn't really get a lot of service.
Yeah.
But what are you doing? Your job is to get on the ball.
Yeah.
Right.
No, he was on the ball. He was on the ball doing some nice things. But he was playing for himself, Robbie. He was doing all the things that make him look good, right? But when you're losing 3-0, it doesn't look good, does it? Because it's not coming off. Just coming back to the question, just answering it then about Arteta and Ancelotti. I think for a club the size of Arsenal Football Club, we should not be taking a risk, right? And we will be taking a risk with Arteta.
Massive risk.
So I think, to me, Ancelotti is the one I would like. I know I might get a lot of criticism for that.
No, listen, Graham, for me personally, I have to agree with you. I just feel that I am hoping, because it's looking like Arteta, I am hoping that he's going to prove everybody wrong. We could be looking back on it and saying it was an inspired choice by the board. It was a forward thinking, because we have seen a lot of managers that, you know, have come from nowhere. Like you'd see, even some of the managers at the moment are doing well. Like Nagelsmann, Thomas Tuchel, even Ten Hag. He was under Guardiola. He sort of learnt his trades, gone to Ajax, is doing great things. So it could be inspired. But how I look on it at the moment, I'm just looking at the state of what Arsenal are in right now. And
you have to say that Arteta, as much as he's learnt under Pep, Pep has spent millions.
Exactly.
And Arteta's not going to have the money that Pep had.
Exactly. And the state of what the club's in right now, you're going to have that same back four, right? You're not going to be able to do nothing about that right now. Even if in January you get one, maybe you might get a one player in. Yeah. But that's what you're going to have. Yeah?
I think
you need an experienced player, experienced manager that's going to get it organised and just get us through this very, very poor period that we're going through.
The January window becomes crucial then, doesn't it? What sort of money
are they going to spend in the January window?
One thing we didn't touch on, though, and I will touch on this, is that in Freddie's defence, he didn't have Bellerin at right back, he didn't have Tierney at left back, he didn't have Ceballos in midfield. Those three players, had they played, and he could have played a 3 in midfield, I think Ceballos, Torreira and Guendouzi as a 3, would have, and then sort of maybe left one of Ozil, Pepe out, and maybe even played 4 in midfield, or certainly have a 4-4-2 out of possession. I know we tried to play 4-4-2 out of possession a lot in this game, but we didn't have the players because they couldn't execute it. If he had played I can't get away from the fact, I watched Man United.
Yeah,
they literally.
They were brilliant.
That was the blue.
And they did it the week before. They should have just done the same.
Man United. If you look at Man United at the moment, they're brilliant when they have less of the ball. But when they come up against teams like Everton, where they have a lot of the ball, they can't break teams down.
Exactly.
But I think for us against Man City, we know that we're inferior to them, player for player. We should have respected that fact and played more on counter-attack, been more compact, more in midfield to stop De Bruyne, Foden dropping between the lines. And we just literally gave them the game. They're better than us, and they probably would have won the game more than likely. But the way we capitulated the game was dead in 15 minutes, and they literally took it easy on us. They could have had 5, 6, 7. And
Other easy games to come. Everton away under Duncan Ferguson, where they beat Chelsea comprehensively. That's our next game away. 12:30 kickoff, which we never do well in those early kickoffs. Followed by Chelsea at home. Followed by Man United. 3 games. If we if we don't get our act together, we could lose all 3.
We've got Bournemouth in between, haven't we?
Sorry, I forgot about Bournemouth on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
So and that they beat Chelsea last week. So 4 games.
We could be down in a relegation dogfight.
If we don't get our act together,
and we could be,
and I mean, hopefully, I'm hearing that by Thursday a manager should be in place. Hopefully, you know what? Right now we just need someone. We need someone, and
you can't take on the champions without a manager, can you? They've waited a long time. I think they were hoping that Freddie could buy them some time. And
they wanted Freddie to get him through. What I heard is they wanted Freddie to try and get it through till January. Then, if he'd done all right, they were going to make him go till the end of the season. This is how these guys are thinking right now. And it's only because of the disastrous results and the fact there's been no reaction that they are now we are always reacting. We are never forward thinking. We are never proactive. We're always reacting to things. And when you're a club like that, it's a road to disaster. We really got to get this sorted out. We really got to get our act together.
Well, we can't sort of don't want to finish too much on a negative, but you look what happened to Leeds United. And people have said in the past that teams are too good to go down. I can remember Chelsea going down in the late 80s. I can remember Tottenham going down in the mid to late 70s. Man United going down. Yeah. We've never been relegated from the top.
Never been relegated. It's a proud record.
It's a proud record,
yeah.
and we are sleepwalking towards the relegation zone, Robin.
Troop said it the other day, and it got heavily criticised by loads of Arsenal fans for saying we could be the next Leeds if we don't sort ourselves out.
Yeah.
If we don't sort ourselves out, and as I said, a first step is to bring a manager in and staff to work around him. He ain't even got that at the moment. We could become another Leeds. We got to get our act together. The owner of the club, I keep saying it in every video, he needs to come out and start talking as well, because he's the Mesut Ozil of the club as the hierarchy.
Everything comes from the top, doesn't it? When the top are only interested in commercial deals, looking after their own pocket, these players are only interested in looking after themselves on the pitch and looking after their pocket. It filters down from the top. Yeah. And unfortunately, at the moment, the Cronkies are not setting a good example, are they? Or they never have. The win rate since they've come in, pre-Cronky, was 60% for Arsenal in the Premier League. It's now dropped to 48%.
Not good enough.
No.
Let us know what you thought of the game. Also, let us know if, yes or no, who would you want? Arteta or Ancelotti? Yes or no? We'll do a poll on it, actually. Let us know who would be best to try and rescue this sinking ship.